Hi, this is Love from Tits and Giggles podcast. I love using Anchor because it's easy to operate and I can just pick up the phone and speak my mind whenever I want. I love the podcast availability because I can get it out to multiple platforms at the same time without having to go. It automatically generates your RSS feed and you get it out to your listeners. And I love the background music and all the sound effects. Loving Anchor so much. You should try it for yours. This is Love again with Tits and Giggles podcast. What's up, Tits and Giggles? So this one here is another near and dear to my heart podcast because, as I stated before, I'm a veteran and I was stationed at Fort Hood, and Fort Hood has been in the news a lot for crime. So let's just get into it. I did 4 years in the Army. My first duty station was Korea. I went in at 17. My parents had to sign for me to go in. And when you go into the military, you go in believing that, you're going to be safe. They show you all these videos and, nobody's never going to touch you, all the above. And you really believe that. I believed it until I got to basic training, the real military, and I saw all kind of craziness. And so I did basic training. I came out of basic training unscathed, shall I say. But then as soon as I got into AIT, which is at school, my first sergeant saw me in civilian clothes because I was my basic training was at Fort Jackson. My AIT was at Fort Gordon, which is 45 minutes away. So my first sergeant, I guess he was up on the base in Fort Gordon. Well, he saw me in military clothes, and I was young and hot back then. And so, I was young, which is in that same sentence gross. But he saw me, and then I was just like, hey, first sergeant, being young, I was literally 18 at this time. And then so, next thing you know, my mom called me and she's like, are you okay? My mom's back home in Missouri or whatever. So she's calling my unit because when you get to school, you can actually get calls to your unit. So I'm like, yeah. She was like, well, your first sergeant called here looking for you. And I was like, huh? And so when I got back to where I was going to school at, we had a sergeant that was on call, and so he was like, your first sergeant's calling. And I was like, and so I talked to him, and so no, he didn't say he was my first sergeant when he called the base, because obviously that would be odd. So I had a call and it was him, and so he was like, hey, I saw you, pretty much wanting to hook up with me. And I was like, what? And so I was completely freaked out. And so I told the watch commander sergeant who it was and everything, which he was hip to this kind of thing. Obviously, he was he had been in, he knew the game. So every time he would call, he'd be like, who is this? Trying to mess with him. Eventually, to where he got him to finally stop calling. And as a woman and as a young girl, I've been getting sexually harassed my whole life. So it was nothing new. So I know how to evade people and escape people, whatever. So my first duty station was Korea. And so when I got to Korea, I met my first husband there and got pregnant. But before all that time, I had a sergeant that was a creep. And so he would come to my room. Now, have came from a domestic violence home and a home of, I've been through some things. So I'm very fight or flight type of person. And so I know pervs right off the bat. And so this sergeant, he would come to my room at late at night, like 9 at night with a beer in his hand. And I was like, why are you here? Because I was in Korea. So it's not like, and they have keys to your room. A lot of people don't understand this about the military. Like, for instance, Vanessa Gillian, who was killed, like, a lot of these sergeants, they can come in your room whenever they feel like it. They have keys. Me, being the scary, untrusting person I am, what I would do is take my earplugs. We had earplugs that we hang on our uniforms, and I would put it in between the lock and the knob to get in, so you could not get in my room without me letting you in, which he hated that. And he would try to tell me, like, I can come to your room whenever you want, and I'm like, not with a beer in your hand. So he knew that I was gonna be problematic, so he left me alone. So much so that, like, when I was leaving, and you get like a little award when you leave, he would be like, you were a good soldier, but you had your ways. Pretty much like, you were a B because you didn't let me come on to you, because I'm not like I never was intimidated by, that's the good part about growing up in an abusive home. When you get free, I guess some people have different reactions. Mine was more like, when I'm free, I'm an adult now, like, nobody's gonna, I don't care who you are type of person, and I've always been like that. So no matter what rank or whatever, obviously I'll respect you to a certain extent, but you're not about to, I'll never be the victim again. That's kind of how I am. Fast forward to all that, got to Fort Hood. My stories are endless. Like, I'd have to do a whole nother podcast on, like, being hit on constantly, like, no matter where you go, because Fort Hood, the ratio of men and women is like, there's a lot of men compared to women, and women are constantly accosted and hit on. I mean, I got too many stories and not enough time. So, like, when I see these poor girls at Fort Hood, I feel bad for them. And I would say to any woman going into the military, like, stand up for yourself and have, like, a girl clique. One you can trust. I was fortunate to have people that were in, like, more role, like, higher ranking individuals that I could confide in if something was going on. So I would totally, like, if you had a daughter going in the military or somebody like that, get people around you you can trust. Get people, and don't be afraid to tell people no. They can't, I hate to say they can't murder you, because obviously, but they can't, though. Like, if you let enough people know, like, what's going on, they'll leave you alone. You don't have to be intimidated by this person's rank. And as I state in anything, just because you have a badge, just because you wear a uniform, does not make you a good person. There are still sick individuals in every profession. That's why you have to use discernment, and you have to use your intuition, and you have to not trust them. You want to, you're brainwashed to believe it, but come on, like, we still have to keep our brains, and that's on anything. So I want to play some stories of missing people. I want to start off with poor Vanessa's story and just the stuff, the crime. I know that when I was at Fort Hood, there was a lot of crime going on. There was drugs and gangs and prostitution and human trafficking in the military too. Don't get it twisted. There's a lot of missing soldiers that you don't hear about unless someone makes a big enough wave. And it is my duty and, like, passion as a former soldier, when I see these stories, to constantly say, like, warn you about your children in the military. You're going to hear about the soldier that was sexually assaulted, and he was a man. So it's not just to women. So you have to be careful. I'm going to play these for you, and I hope and pray that, like, you guys are aware and just don't be intimidated. And also, I want to play about Sergeant Jewel Scott, who's the latest person that says she's been intimidated. I pray that her story is not fake. I'm starting to hear some different accounts about. I will be so mad and disappointed if her story is fake, because there are so many soldiers being sexually abused and like hurt and murdered and abused in the military, and if someone is faking for social media, oh my gosh, that So I'm gonna play you Sergeant Jules. She's the most recent female soldier that says she's been like harassed and things with the military. Then I'm gonna play you somebody that thinks she's lying, and then I just want to get into like actual stories that happened, and we're just gonna discuss it and make you aware of what's going on in the military now, especially at Fort Hood. And I can tell you by personal experience that Fort Hood is sketch. So here we go with Sergeant Jules' story.
Hey y'all, so I just want to get on here real quick and say that if something happened to me, if just real blunt and honest with, if I end up dead, if I end up missing or something like that, just know somebody did it. And I just want to get out here and put something out, because I know how the media, I know how my job, being in the military, will paint these false narratives. And I'm going to do more talking about it. I'm trying to post a video now, but I just need something quick put out there, so that way people know, like, if it was self-inflicted or something like that, my family would know, my friends would know. So if nothing come from them or nothing like that, I just want to say somebody did it. I don't know what's going to happen, but for some reason I feel like my days, something is just telling me my days are limited, and I don't know how it could be. I don't know if it's, things get heavy, man, and I'm not gonna lie, like, things are perfect for me. Like, it could be now, like I said, I'm trying to make a video of everything, just saying, then they can paint whatever picture they want, and people don't know my side of the story. So I'm gonna make a video, but just keep me in y'all prayers, and just know that don't.
So she was also in my old unit, 4th Infantry Division. I mean, she seems like she's telling the truth. I know that the last post that she posted was like May 31st, and I know that we did see a video of her being arrested when she came back, because they said she was AWOL, but then she said that they have been doing false reports of her being AWOL, and she's actually videoed herself being on the base, where she said they called her family and said she was not there, and she was clearly there. I'm like, Sergeant Scott, if this is real, like, you probably need to just get out the military. And I know it's hard to get out the military. It's hard to get out the military. It's not easy. You have to do a whole bunch of stuff, but they'll let you out. Yeah, so there was a big movement, and there are some true military advocates that really want to help soldiers. So here's someone who said they were trying to help Sergeant Scott, but then they start feeling like she was lying. So I'm gonna play her message, and her name is Miss Keys on TikTok. So let's get into her video.
Did not post that because some of the things I did not publicly want to display. I was trying to help her in the background, because that's what advocates do. We don't have to put her business out in the forefront. So I sat there, I drove to Fort Hood, 2 hours away from where I'm at. I got her hotel room, I fed her, made sure she was good, and I have proof and receipts of this. And I mean, I thought as a person, I thought I did my best to advocate for her. But my issue was, when I saw her receipts, some of it seemed a little sketchy. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to BS you. Some of it seemed a little sketchy. So I was trying to help her understand how to share her story and make sure all the eggs were aligned. Like, everything was aligned, everything was good. But I kept on seeing holes in the story, but I kept on fighting. So that's my job as an advocate. I keep on fighting. However, I have to make sure the truth is being told. And so all the posts I'm seeing do not match up with the evidence. A lot of things are post-dated, and all those things. So when you have somebody who's coming to you and telling you, hey, I got this going on, I had to make sure that I asked questions. And instead of saying, okay, let me help you or let me help you understand, I was getting attacked. She was so defensive towards me. And so another person was like, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's, Keidra is trying to help you. Keidra's trying to help you. So just be calm. I'm still fighting for her. And to this day, we just cut contact because somebody posted about her being in Colombia with the GoFundMe. Okay. Now, I know stuff behind the scenes that I didn't want to tell, but let me be honest. Let's go ahead and throw it out there. Yes, baby, you're in Colombia, you're using your GoFundMe for that. It's not about no lawyer, it's not about anything, because first off, you told me, and I have proof of this, you told me that you don't want to fight anymore, that you want to go out in Colombia, you want to have fun, all the other things. I have no issue with you. I have no issue with anybody who's helping her out. But y'all have to understand, it's more to this story. It's more to this story, and I have been riding and dying for her since I first met her. No issues with her, but I will tell you, before you guys listen to everybody's story and tag all these people, make sure you know the truth, all right? Make sure you 100% know the truth. But you guys be good. I'm going to still keep on advocating. I have no problem. But I want honesty, and I have to make sure your story aligns with the truth. And your evidence has to align with what I saw, because it don't align. You guys have to think. Secondly, I know I went on a rant. Secondly, or the last thing I'm going to say is on a post, she's going back and forth with his sergeant's wife. You have to read the message where the lady said, oh, you're okay with calling me a bitch. Jewel has been calling her bitches in the past. That was not on the story, on the evidence. So you guys have to look and open. Like, some of this stuff is inconsistent. But I sat back and didn't say anything. But it's all good. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to act like I'm the best person in the world. I'm not going to do it, because I should have said something as soon as I saw the issues. I should have said something and stopped right away. But anyway, y'all be blessed. Sorry to go on this rant. I'll be talking to y'all later. God bless.
So, I mean, she said a lot in that video, but basically she's saying that Sergeant Jewel's story is not adding up. Like I said, I'll be so disappointed if it's not. But because when people lie about stuff, it kind of makes it hard for it makes it so hard for everybody else. And I know, like, if you are a victim of something in the military, to even get any kind of disability or assistance, it takes like so much. And so something like this in the military is detrimental. It's not like the real world where you can just say, oh, this person did this, and then boom, they're automatically fired. Or it doesn't work like that in the military. You need concrete evidence. You have to go to the doctor. Like, it's a whole situation. And so, like, there's steps you have to take. I mean, anybody that's in the military knows this. So I really hope that she has not lied about this. On a serious note, though, we will play some real issues and things that have happened to people in the military, and just awareness that there are real victims out there. There has been. And so, yeah, we're going to get into them.
Vanessa Guillen was murdered may have been a photo. For more than 2 years, her family has been demanding answers and change within Fort Hood and the military as a whole, and they've never really gotten an explanation about why fellow soldier Aaron Robinson murdered Guillen. Until now, new documents filed in federal court detail an interview with Robinson's girlfriend, Cecily Aguilar. So according to these documents, Aguilar told investigators Robinson murdered Guillen because Guillen saw a photo of Aguilar on his phone, and Robinson worried he'd get in trouble for violating the Army's fraternization rules. See, Aguilar was still married to another soldier at the time. So Guillen saw the photo on Robinson's phone, according to Aguilar, and then hit Guillen in the head with a hammer. Aguilar says she helped Robinson dismember and then hide Vanessa Guillen's body. He shot himself the day after her body was found. As for Aguilar, she faces 11 charges related to Guillen's murder, including tampering with documents. You can read up on the whole history of this case via the article linked in my bio.
So I don't believe that story at all, because that's coming from his girlfriend. I definitely know that Vanessa had complained about the dude harassing her. And as I stated earlier, she has said he came to her room, something like that. And I know I know that she probably, because he called her to work when it wasn't even work hours, and she felt she should come, probably because he was her superior. Which you do not have to do that, FYI. You don't. I know that you will probably get in trouble for it, but it's like, you want to get in trouble, or you want to be safe. Like, but I know that some people they are so scared to buck the system, but I'm saying buck the system, and there are a lot of advocates on all these spaces, especially in the days of social media. Social media wasn't like at all how it is now. When I was in, I just was like, you're not about to take advantage of me. So, but now there's so many people you can reach out to help you. So please do that. Like I said, definitely unfortunate what happened with Vanessa, and that's why it's so much more important that Sergeant Scott is not lying about what happened with her. Let's get into another story here.
So you guys might recall that I did a video about Vanessa Guillen, the missing Fort Hood soldier. Well, a few days ago, I was putting together another little video about missing Fort Hood soldiers and murdered Fort Hood soldiers, and this whole kind of a conspiracy that's going on there, with, like drugs and prostitution and just so many missing people. And I was going to do a video on Private Gregory Morales Waddell, and unfortunately, he was actually found deceased a few miles away from the Army base. When I was doing research on Vanessa, I came across his name and some articles that stated that he's been missing since 2019. The Army listed him as AWOL, and his mother knew that he did not run away. He only had like 2 or 3 days left of his service, and his mother was just adamant that something bad happened to him, and the Army literally did nothing. Sadly, if it wasn't for Vanessa going missing, the Army never would have even looked for him.
Yeah, and who knows how many more bodies are at Fort Hood, let's be clear, because Fort Hood is a very big base. It's big. It's probably one of the biggest bases in the United States. So yeah, this poor guy, like I said, and you guys don't understand, like, soldiers die a lot in the military from training accidents, there were people when we were going to the gun range, and lightning will strike their rifle and die. People died during PT. Like, a lot of people die constantly, and I can only imagine what Fort Hood's true murder rate is. They don't let that out to the media. So yeah, you have to understand the military has its own police, its own investigators, like all that, so they can withhold if they want, so let's get into the next story here.
Murders of Army Specialist Freddie De La Cruz, his pregnant girlfriend Asia Klein, and veteran Shaquan Allred. Fort Hood, where you at? Back in 2020, when the case of Vanessa Guillen first broke, it was discovered that dozens of soldiers at Fort Hood had been murdered. Among them was Specialist Freddie De La Cruz, pictured here. On March 14, 2020, at about 1 o'clock in the morning, someone called the Killeen Police Department to report shots fired. Police responded to the Summerlin Apartments on East Rancier Avenue, but they did a brief investigation, and when they didn't find anything, they left. 12 minutes later, the fire department responded to the same apartment complex due to a water leak, and the police also went with them. The leak was coming from apartment 1711, but when police knocked, no one answered. And when police made their way inside, it was a horrific scene. On the couch sat Army veteran Shaquan Allred, dead. He was still holding the video game controller that he was holding when he was playing his video game. Freddie, pictured here with Chuck Norris, his idol, he was found dead in the bedroom. Freddie's pregnant girlfriend, Asia Klein, was found deceased in the bathroom. All 3 roommates had been shot. The 4th roommate was at work. Inside the apartment, police discovered 17 9mm shell casings, and it turns out that one of the bullets had hit a water pipe and caused the leak. When police interviewed the 4th roommate, she told them that she was at work that day. But earlier in the day, she spoke to Shaquan, who told them that one of their Army veteran buddies was coming over. The friend was Bernard Morrow. Police follow up with Bernard, and lo and behold, he is the owner of a 9mm weapon, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. But when police asked him where he got the gun, he told them that a few days after the triple murder, he actually stole a backpack from a group of guys who were playing basketball in a park, and inside was this gun. But that's a lie. Someone comes forward and tells police that in August of 2019, they sold this weapon to Bernard. And after a search of Bernard's phone, well, he doesn't have much of a leg to stand on, because police find a video of him playing with his gun on his phone long before the triple murder. Ballistics show that Bernard was in possession of the murder weapon. Bernard was charged with capital murder, and his trial took place earlier this month. He was convicted, and according to reporting by Rose Thayer of Stars and Stripes, he was automatically sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Click follow for more military true crime.
So yeah, Fort Hood. Whew. I saw somebody that was like the leader of a gang who was a soldier, like had a big gang drug ring, and literally after their trial literally was flown straight to Leavenworth, because Fort Hood is like, the military is like, when you commit a crime, that trial ain't lasting years. Like, you getting in and out, and they're like putting your butt straight to Leavenworth. You know, I can't reiterate enough. Just because you get in the military doesn't mean let your guard down. I was that young, naive person that thought that as well. I'm going to get into the last but not least story, one that was sad. And this is the male of sexual assaults. So let's get into his story. Cue that up for you.
Soldier to go missing from Fort Hood military base. He was last seen by his staff sergeant who dropped him off at his home last Monday after being hospitalized for several days. His mother, Alina, stated that the two were very close, but for some reason, he didn't want to disclose why he was in the hospital. He promised to call her on video chat so she knew he was safe, but that call never came through. 1 week before Elder went missing, he reported to the Army that he had been sexually assaulted on base. Alina Fernandez, Elder's mother, was quoted as saying she feels like the Army is trying to write him off as a mentally ill soldier who went AWOL. And this is starting to remind me of what they did to Gregory Morales. They refused to search for him, and they claim that he went AWOL when we all know he didn't. It's really time for Fort Hood to start taking responsibility for their soldiers and to be held accountable. I'm really hoping for a positive outcome.
Yeah, so this guy, and yes, I have heard of dudes being sexually assaulted at Fort Hood. And this is way before the don't ask, don't tell stuff was lifted. And so to think that, this is the only thing I'm going to say. These crimes, Sergeant Scott's crime is alleged. But like all these other things are situations that's happened. I know that the trial for Vanessa hasn't came out, so things could be alleged. We'll say alleged, but I am telling you from my personal accounts of the things that happened, and there were dudes that were sexually assaulted in the military as well as females. So my advice to you, if you are joining the military, do not go in there thinking like it's safe. Like, one, you're a soldier. You're already putting your life on the line for this country. That's number one, that you should already be like aware. But there are also predators amongst you. So be safe. Don't be afraid to step speak up for yourself. Don't be afraid if you feel not comfortable in a situation and be like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not doing this situation. Like, there's a lot of advocates out now on social media you can reach out to if you're having an issue with anybody, if you don't have family to reach out to. But just be safe, guys. I don't want anybody else to get caught up behind this, and don't believe the hype. Like, it's still, these are still people, no matter if they wear uniforms or badges or whatever. People still are evil and sick. So if you can get molested and raped in the church, just imagine what can happen to you anywhere else. So please be safe. This is Tits and Giggles signing off with an important message. You guys, peace and love.